to Sugar Coated. I'm your host, Adrienne Garland, the CEO and founder of She Leads Media. For far too long, women have been conditioned to sugarcoat their words, their actions, and the way they show up in the world, and to conform to certain cultural norms and ideals. This is inherently designed to keep those who are outside of the norm from gaining power, prestige, wealth, and influence, preventing more women from being recognized and respected as the powerful leaders that we truly are. Join me each week as we dive into raw conversations with remarkable, uncompromising, and inspirational women that will encourage you to strip away your sugarcoating and move boldly in the direction of your magnificent dreams. Hello, and welcome back to Sugar Coated. Today's episode is thrilling for me, and we'll find out why. We have our two very special guests welcoming back Beth Lauren, the brainchild and founder of the WellTech World Summit, alongside of Sara Sica. She's the director of programs for the David Lynch Foundation, and she's a certified TM teacher. What's TM? It is transcendental meditation. And we won't be meditating today on the Sugar Coated podcast, but we will be learning more about what transcendental meditation is. We'll say TM. So welcome to Sugar Coated, Beth and Sara.
Thank you, Adrienne. I'm so excited to be back with you. This is number 3 in our collaboration, WellTech World Summit and Sugar Coated podcast, really talking to some exciting guests who will be speaking at the WellTech World Summit, which is a 2-day virtual conference that Adrienne and I are co-producing, really looking at the intersection of wellness and tech. I'm particularly excited today because Sara has been my teacher. For years, I have dabbled in meditation. I really wanted to strengthen my practice and had a real interest in TM. The universe responded, and I was gifted a scholarship for sexual assault survivors, which I am one, to learn TM at the David Lynch Foundation, and Sara was my teacher. And I really just connected with her teachings, with her style, and with her as a person. I'd like to say we've become friends. Maybe she'll disagree. But TM has helped me to release so much trauma that lived in my body for decades from the assault and just the aftermath. And TM reduces stress overall, helps me to be more focused and calm. It's just, I could talk about it for hours. I'm so excited to share this with you, and I would love to just dive in and ask Sara, can you tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming both a practitioner and a teacher of TM?
Absolutely. I would be happy to. And I just first want to say it's such an honor to be speaking on Sugar Coated. Thank you so much for inviting me, Adrienne and Beth. And yes, Beth is a very dear friend of mine. No question about it. And I'm just so excited to be part of her upcoming WellTech World Summit. It's going to be a great event. I'm excited that it's virtual because I think it'll be even more accessible to many people around the globe. Yeah, so my journey in TM is a bit unique. Not everyone has the same journey, obviously. I was fortunate in that I started the technique very young. My dad is also a TM teacher. He taught me when I was 10 years old on my birthday. That's the youngest you can learn this technique that I taught Beth. And it's a very simple, relaxing meditation, so even children can learn it no problem. And I remember when my dad was teaching me, I actually remembered thinking at that time, oh, I think I'd like to do this one day. I'd like to become a TM teacher like my dad. And the very first time I meditated with the technique, I remember it was this beautiful sunny day. It was on my birthday in July, and you could hear the birds chirping outside. And I closed my eyes and I started doing the technique that my dad was teaching me. And at first, you could kind of see the sunlight streaming, even though your eyes are closed, you can see that light and you can hear the birds chirping. And at some point, I couldn't see the light anymore and I couldn't hear the birds. But what I experienced instead was this very deep peace and silence. and happiness inside. It was me. It was just me. And the closest way I can describe it is it's like coming home. And it was even more charming, even more fulfilling than the summer day, you know? So I came out of meditation and I was like, wow, that was cool. I can't wait to keep doing this. And, you know, flash forward many years later, I decided, hey, you know, I'd love to teach this to other people and give them this technique that's benefited me so much in my life. So, you know, I've been working for the David Lynch Foundation for 10 years now, and I get to teach incredible people like Beth. And here we are.
Wow. Sara, can I just jump in and ask a question? So from 10 years old to, 10 years working at the David Lynch Foundation, did you go into the corporate world? Like, did you, work at any other place, like in between? What kind of took you back to that incredible love that you felt at 10 years old?
Oh, how long do we have? Okay, so in a way, I've always been connected to ultimately ending up as a TM teacher, whether or not I was aware of it at the time, and I'll elaborate. So my parents decided when my sister and I were young, they decided to move us to a small town in Iowa. It's called Fairfield. Oprah visited it once. She called it the TM town. Not everyone in the town practices TM, but a lot of people do. And there's a school there where the meditation is built into the curriculum, and there's also consciousness-based education. So, you know, we moved there in 1992, and starting in third grade, I was able to experience meditating with other people in school. I learned TM a year later after we moved, but I was able to be in a school that had consciousness-based education, meaning every subject was connected back to yourself and related to deepest principles of physics, of mathematics, just seeing that bigger connection. And so I grew up with that. And then when I went to college, I went to University of Iowa for a semester, and I loved it there. I made great friends. I was really enjoying all the classes, but I was missing the consciousness education component. But I went there because I was actually at that time super into golf. I still am, but I was really gung ho about it, and I was planning on going pro. So I was like,
Wow.
I'm gonna try to get on the Big Ten school team and then go pro after that. Long story short, even though I was good enough to make the team, I was about as good as the second player at the time. The coach only wanted to accept somebody that was going to be better than her number one player. So I didn't make the team, and I was crushed.
Yeah.
I was heartbroken, but it led me back to consciousness-based education and led back to that initial desire I had as a child to become a TM teacher that I had at some point forgotten. And so I came back to Fairfield, Iowa, and there's a university there, a wonderful university. It's called Maharishi International University, where TM is built in the curriculum. You get credit for meditating, consciousness-based education, but all the normal, college disciplines and some unique ones too. But I was there, and that led me back, step by step back to ultimately becoming a TM teacher. And after I graduated college, flash forward several years, I was actually working at the university because I wanted to give back and I wanted to support other people on their journey in consciousness-based education. And I was an admissions counselor. And the other admissions counselors on the team were already TM teachers. So not only would they get to support someone on their journey to become a student, but when they arrived at the university, they would get to teach that person TM. And I was a little jealous, because it's just an extra nice way to bond with, all the people that you're supporting. And that's when I remembered, oh yeah, I wanted to be a TM teacher. So I decided around that time, it's time. So that's the long answer to the question.
And then just getting involved with the David Lynch Foundation. I mean, I'm sure you didn't go in right as the director of programs.
Correct.
So what was sort of your journey through the David Lynch Foundation? And can you also tell us what the David Lynch Foundation is, what it's all about, what the mission is, all of it?
Absolutely. So the David Lynch Foundation has been around for, I think, over 20 years now. It was started by David Lynch, famed film director. I don't know if you're familiar with, his movies, Twin Peaks, all of that.
Yes.
And Bob Roth, the CEO of the David Lynch Foundation, and Dr. John Hagelin, one of the world's foremost physicists. They all came together to start this foundation that's in its seed form. And David Lynch has been practicing TM for over 45 years now, twice a day, every day. He's never missed a single meditation, apparently. He's been so dedicated to it because of how much it's helped him. And he was really passionate about bringing it to the youth of the world. He really wanted to be able to bring this to students and schools because even students have high amounts of stress. So, the foundation was started, and at this point, over 1 million school children around the globe have been able to learn TM for free because of the efforts and partnerships with the David Lynch Foundation globally. And we have many program areas. So my current program areas are I'm the director of the corporate programs in New York City, bringing TM into businesses where they come to us. I'm the director of the Women's Health Initiative, which is where we get to teach TM for free to anyone that's experienced domestic or gender-based violence or sexual assault. And I mean anyone. So, a lot of survivors tend to be women, but these kinds of adverse experiences could happen to anyone of any gender. So, we teach anyone that has qualified for this, and the government's funding it. They've been funding it for many years, which is a wonderful thing. So that's one of my program areas, and that's how I got to meet Beth. And then the last program area is teaching friends and referrals of the foundation, because this technique normally, there's centers all over the country, all over the world. And normally you find a local TM teacher, you walk in, it's like a retail store. You walk in, you pay a course fee, they teach you TM, and then you get lifetime free follow-up from any other certified teacher in the country, if not most of the world. So the David Lynch Foundation, we do have some programs where people pay the course fee to support our work, but most of the work is in program areas like teaching it to veterans with PTSD, teaching it in schools. So, long answer to your initial question, but how I got started with the foundation was I really wanted to bring this to children because I got to learn it as a child myself. And I was offered the job in Los Angeles. That's where I was living at the time when I was offered to work for the David Lynch Foundation. And I started teaching in schools. And I was a site leader there for almost 5 years, I think, teaching in 2 schools in inner city Los Angeles. And it was a tremendous experience getting to teach this to students, to staff, to administrators. I have lots of stories. I know I don't have time for it, but that's how I got started. And then I moved to New York City almost 5 years ago now because my mom was diagnosed late stage with bone marrow cancer. And, when we found out it was stage 4, it was very aggressive, and we didn't know. I didn't know how much time I had left with her, and I wanted to be there and support her. And so I just, fortunately, Bob Roth, he's amazing, and he created a position for me in New York City so that I could move and continue the work with the David Lynch Foundation. And so that brought me to New York. And since then, I've also gotten to experience teaching in other areas. And that's really fulfilling for me, getting to grow professionally and teach many different populations TM, because ultimately this can benefit anybody. But you do hear different experiences depending on if you teach someone that, is a survivor, or someone that's a veteran, or someone that's a student in school. There's universality, but there's also differences. So that's my journey.
Wow.
Oh, what a beautiful story. And thank you for sharing your personal journey. And and I can speak to the collective energy in the room of being with other people taking the course. And we did have men and women in our group. So that was particularly nice. I just want to switch gears a little bit. One of the reasons that I wanted to have you join the WellTech World Summit is because we're really looking at kind of what I'm calling kind of ancient modalities, kind of like meditation, yoga, and Ayurveda, which I practice, and how they work in the modern world. But also because as I was booking speakers, it just became apparent that there were TM practitioners, so many of them, really passionate about it. So I was like, yeah, we absolutely have to do a whole dedicated panel on TM. But I wonder if you could kind of speak to, the technology aspect. I kind of have a two-part question. Like, how has technology changed the methods you use to teach? And what aspects of learning and teaching TM do you think need to happen in person without devices, the way meditation was originally intended to be both taught and learned?
Great questions. I'd be happy to answer. So, TM has been around for about 5,000 years. And up until a few years ago, it's only been taught in person. It's a 4-day consecutive course. So it's a little bit of an upfront commitment because we want to make sure that you're learning it properly so that when the course is over, you're completely self-sufficient and successful with it the rest of your life. And then you can follow up with a teacher if you want to. Now, the global TM organization had always intended on making a version that was mostly virtual to make it even more accessible in this modern age because, technology is the future. But COVID sped up that timeline. So, at the start of COVID, they released the virtual TM course option, which we also use at the David Lynch Foundation because we teach exactly the way TM's taught globally. We're just bringing it to at-risk populations as our focus. So the first day still has to be in person because we want to ensure that there's nothing lost in translation. Sometimes there can be glitches, there can be internet drops out, everything like that. So we still maintain that in-person instruction as it's always been done on the first day. And you actually learn the meditation technique starting in that first session. But the next 3 days is all about validating your experiences and answering your questions and further reinforcing meditating correctly so that you're more and more confident in it. And then by the end of the course, you're self-sufficient. So the virtual course option is an app that, you can download on your iPhone or Android. It's a little bit more time intensive because it's a very comprehensive curriculum to ensure that whatever your experience is, wherever your questions, they're addressed. So it takes about 2 hours each day. And then there's a live check-in with a teacher over Zoom for about 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, where we still guide you in a meditation just like we would if you were coming in person for the next 3 classes. And yeah, both options, I think people are getting the technique. They're enjoying it. The in-person option, you're not with us all day. I didn't clarify that. You're just with us about 75 to 90 minutes max, 4 days in a row. So the virtual option gives people a little more flexibility. They could be doing the app in their own time from at home. They don't have to travel 4 days to the center. And I just think it's important. It's important that we make this as accessible as possible while also maintaining the technique so it ensures, the effectiveness of it.
Yeah, that's great to have options and that no part of the process or the integrity suffers for it. So that's amazing. Can you tell people how they can learn more about the offerings at the David Lynch Foundation?
Absolutely. So I would say if you're interested, just go to our website, davidlynchfoundation.org. And you could also email me. Happy to answer any questions, Sara at davidlynchfoundation.org. And you can, read about all of our programs online.
Great.
One thing that I would love to sort of jump in and ask you is, I think Beth is very familiar with TM. I actually have, my husband and I both have gone through the training here here in Long Island, and a couple of friends of mine, and then their teenage children and everything. There is definitely, a mental health crisis among our youth,
Yes.
Teenagers, college age students, all of it. And it's just such a wonderful practice. My question is a little convoluted here. So, you hear a lot about TM and its use and it's almost like positions like that. Its use in for actors, right? Like you see a lot of celebrities that talk a lot about how it's benefited their lives and things like that. And that's amazing, right? Because we look up to these people and we say, oh, they've cracked the code on how to be, successful. But I know that there's trauma, veterans, all of that, but I'm going to just ask, for people who maybe just experiencing the everyday type of stress, or even if someone's not experiencing stress, how can TM sort of benefit their lives?
Beautiful question. So, TM is a simple meditation technique that allows the active mind to quickly settle down and experience a very profound rest. It's different than sleep. It doesn't replace sleep, but in many regards, it's very concentrated rest that's allowing for deeper rooted stresses to be released from the nervous system. And the longer you do TM consistently twice a day, as prescribed, quote unquote, the more and more the benefits show up in your life, the more and more they last in your day, and the more and more concrete they become in terms of health benefits and even prevention of, health issues down the road. Like, for instance, one of the long-term studies, 5-year study, the results showed that TM can reduce the risk of heart attack and stroke by 66%. Very hard science has been done on TM. So it's not just something that affects the mind, it affects the health too. And so, to answer your question simply, I personally think this is something that could benefit anyone, because anyone could benefit from getting more rest. I think most of us are just so used to working really hard to achieve what we want, and we might not be getting enough sleep to balance that out. So, adding a tool that provides very concentrated rest in a small amount of time to balance out all of the activity we're doing, everything we want to achieve, is going to benefit you. And of course, there's no religion or belief system or lifestyle associated with this technique. So there's no conflict with any other thing you're already doing for your self-care and self-development. As a matter of fact, students will tell me that after they learn TM, they're more motivated to start exercising again, or, go on the diet that they're meaning to go to the diet, or they're more present with their therapist and processing things more clearly. They are more motivated to go to bed. They feel more refreshed in the morning. So it's going to support whatever else you're already doing. And I think of TM like this. It's a tool that will further boost wherever you are. So yes, it's great to hear about, these top, successful celebrities and, the millions of dollars and everything. It's wonderful. And how TM has boosted that for them. But let's say you're not successful yet, or where you want to be in your life, professionally. You're stressed, you're tired, you're barely motivated. This technique will give you more energy and more clarity, more connection to yourself. It's going to boost your intuition. And then you can start better making those choices and taking those actions to move in the direction you want with your success. So it's just going to boost you wherever you are. So if you have a lot of toxic stress that's accumulated, this is going to help you heal that toxic stress. If you don't have toxic stress, but you're just feeling overwhelmed by everything you have to do in your day-to-day life, this will help you feel less overwhelmed, but yet more on top of everything and achieving things more on your to-do list, and yet having more presence and patience for your loved ones at the end of the day, even after the long day. So it's just going to support wherever you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love it. It's it's like the multivitamin for the mind, right? It kind of like fills in where you may be lacking. And I love that explanation so much, because it's like there is the balance between, seeing these very high performing people, and that's amazing and inspiring, but sometimes that can feel really far away,
Yes.
like I'm never going to be Oprah Winfrey or, Ellen DeGeneres or Howard Stern or whoever, some of the people, Jerry Seinfeld, that, practice TM. But to know that, I can just kind of be me, and I can have my life feel a little bit more in control. I can feel a little bit more like me. I think that that's kind of what wellness is all about. And that's why I love what Beth has kind of put together with the WellTech World Summit. There's all of these different ways for people to kind of access that health and wellness and well-being. And I'm just super excited to listen in. I believe you're on 2 panels, day 1 and day 2. So, I can't wait to hear more from you and dive into everything that you'll be sharing.
Oh, thank you. I really can't wait to the event. I'm really excited about it. Can I add one more thing?
Of course.
What you just said reminded me of something. I think a doctor once said that if TM was a drug that you could just pop twice a day, it would be like a multi-billion-dollar industry because of all of
Yeah.
the very, it's the only meditation technique, for instance, that's been shown to reduce blood pressure just as much as medication. It's the only meditation that the research has shown does that. So, again, not saying this is better than something else. It's just another tool that will support whatever else you're already doing for your self-care, self-wellness. And I think for me as a TM teacher, I've had some people tell me, they had lost all hope. They had gone through such horrible things in their life. They could barely be motivated to get out of bed. And after learning TM, they were telling me like, I have hope again, and so
Yeah.
it's a simple but powerful tool. And I'm lucky to be able to have this as a career.
Yeah. And I'm here to testify because it makes me more me. And it has actually lowered my blood pressure. And it's the way I start my day. The rare times I've had to miss or shorten my morning meditation, my day is completely different. It doesn't have the focus and the calmness that I need for, producing this event on top of a full, plate of job and elder care and relationships and every other thing. So it really is life-changing in the most positive way. So
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to have you moderate a panel with our keynote speaker, David Meltzer, and myself. And I think we'll have one or two other people joining. That's on day 2. Also on day 2, you will be joining me for Ancient Modalities for a Modern World. And we'll be joined by amazing practitioners who work with psychedelics and yoga and Ayurveda and meditation. And we'll talk about how these, 5,000-year-old modalities are helping us all today.
Yes. I really can't wait. And it's incredible what you're organizing. I can't even imagine the amount of work that you've put into making this event happen. And I just think it's going to be such an important, beautiful event. And I'm just so honored that I get to speak and be part of it with you. So thank you again.
Well, we are thrilled. We are so thrilled to partner with you and with the David Lynch Foundation. And I'm just going to mention, go to welltechworldsummit.com and use code SUGARCOATED, all lowercase, 23, numeral 2, numeral 3, for 50% off general and VIP tickets.
Yes. And just to kind of really hit home the point, everything that we're talking about here today on Sugar Coated, it's not just about promoting the incredible benefits of TM. This is all about wellness. And, many of our listeners, the majority of our listeners are women entrepreneurs and women leaders. And we need to do everything that we possibly can to be as well as we can because we are the future. And there's so many studies that show when women are in leadership that the world benefits. And so we need to take care of ourselves in these ways that we're talking about because we have great responsibility that is in our future. So, I encourage everybody to purchase a ticket to the WellTech World Summit, not just because I'm co-producing, not just because Beth is amazing, not just because Sara is amazing and the David Lynch Foundation is amazing and TM is amazing, but because we need to proactively do things for ourselves to be as well as possible. So go out and get the ticket, tell your friends about the tickets, tell your family about the tickets. And I don't know if we mentioned that the event takes place over 2 days. I know we did say that, but it's on March 20th and 21st of this year. So it's coming up really soon. So yeah, I just highly encourage you to participate and to open your mind and connect with Sara and go visit the David Lynch Foundation. I'm sure they could also use donations. So please, if you feel that in your heart, do that. And I just can't thank Beth, you enough for putting together this conference, the summit, and Sara for being our guest here today on Sugar Coated.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Can I end with just one more tiny thing?
Of course.
I just want to say that doing things for self-care is hard. It's hard to make the time. It's hard to be motivated to make the time and do the things. But just, if you're listening to this and it inspires you to just do one thing for your self-care today, even small, it's a huge win. And just always give yourself that credit. And it just creates a ripple effect. And I think what's so exciting to me about the WellTech World Summit is it's just going to be this wonderful reminder of all the things that we could be doing for our self-care, our wellness. And we all need that reminder. And then life just gets better and better and better, because whatever we can do for our wellness, it's going to be a win, not just for ourselves, but for everybody else around us in our life. So thanks again for inviting me, and hope to see you. If you're listening, hope to see you at the WellTech event.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sara. Thanks, Adrian.